Hi, and welcome to Looks Good From Here, the show where we're talking to designers, educators, and creative thinkers that are shaping what the web looks like and what it really takes to get there. I'm Hannah from SquareKicker, and in each episode, we're going to go beyond the scroll to uncover the stories, decisions, and the messy middle behind the beautiful work. Today, I'm chatting with the lovely Christy Price, a beloved Squarespace designer known for her soul-filled style, commitment to community, and the kind of authentic presence that makes clients feel seen and supported. We're going to be talking about what it means to build a business around who you are, not just what you do. From building trust through SEO and YouTube to creating digital products that align with your values. Whether you're at the start of your journey or deep in the weeds, Christy brings a grounded perspective on creative growth, making space for your personality in your process, and the long game of doing work that you love. Let's get into it. Thanks so much for joining me today, Christy. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thanks so much for having me. And also, can you come with me to introduce me everywhere? That was so lovely. Thank you.
I'll just be your hype girl at all the events.
I love it.
That sounds so good. Hey, it's so great to have you here today. I feel like anyone that's been around the Squarespace community for a while probably knows who you are or has stumbled across some of your work, and you do carry this real genuine presence with you. So I'm really excited to talk about how you've kind of developed that and what that's looked like through your journey. But let's go right back to the start of how you've ended up here. How did you get into design, and maybe how you started designing with Squarespace?
Yeah, it was sort of a weird and twisty road. So it all started when I was in graduate school for cognitive psychology. So I was working on my doctorate, and I was doing a lot of coding as part of that for I was doing visual experiments, and I was doing a lot of coding to present those. And at one point, I just realized that that was not the path for me. You know, I'm working on my doctorate. I'm thinking, I don't really see myself being a professor. I thought that I wanted to be, but I am not feeling it. And I thought, I really need to find something else to do. And about that time, one of my friends had started working for a startup here in Austin, Texas. And she said, "We need coders. Can you come and work for us? You're miserable. So you should come and work for us because it's really fun."
Such a nice intro. You look like you're having a really bad time. Come work over here instead.
She was accurate. She was very accurate. So I did. I actually asked for a sabbatical to take a semester off, and my advisor said no. And then I said, okay, then I quit. So I left and never looked back. It was the best move I could have made for me at that time. So I started working at basically a series of startups in Austin, doing various things. And I ended up at this company called mall.com, which this was in the late 90s. And it was back when you would create a website by designing it in Photoshop and exporting it as slices of images, and then code a table using HTML to serve up the images in the right rows and columns. So I did a lot of coding, but I loved working with the designers. And it was so much fun. I started doing more of that work. They started teaching me what they were doing, the tools they were using, the principles that were important. And so I just kind of edged my way into the web design world instead of doing development. And it was a lot more fun than like building SQL databases. So I really enjoyed it. For me, it was a nice move. So I continued working for startups, and then the internet bubble burst and everybody got laid off, and I was done with technology. And I started a soap company with my friend who brought me along to this first startup because we decided we were done with tech.
Unpredicted twists and turns. I love it.
Yeah, we're going to make soap. So we made and sold soap, and it was really funny because I enjoyed that, like developing the recipes and selling the soaps. But the best part for me was creating the branding, doing the marketing, building the website. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not done with technology yet. And we eventually ended up selling that company, and I started freelancing doing web design. And so did web design in WordPress for a number of years. And, you know, it was fine. And then after a while, I realized I didn't really love WordPress, and my
Uh-huh.
clients really didn't love WordPress. Like I couldn't get them to go in and update things. Everybody was on a maintenance plan because they didn't want to touch the site. And then I had all
The
of this
scary
maintenance
world.
work to do that I did
Mhm.
not enjoy. And around 2017, 2018, I decided that I wanted to take my business full time because until then I'd been sort of part time. And I decided I wanted to go full time with my business, and I wanted to find a different platform. So I spent a year building two websites in every platform I could get my hands on. Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, strikingly was a really bad one. I mean, all of them. And I would build sometimes for clients. There are actually a couple of Wix websites that I built that are still out in the wild.
Wow.
And that's pretty funny. But I
Nice.
landed on Squarespace. And in 2018, went full time with my business, decided Squarespace was where it was at for me,
Mm.
and started blogging. And it just took off from there. So that's a very long answer, but it has a lot of different twists and turns.
That is amazing. I thought I knew you pretty well, and there were some bumps in the road there that I did not expect.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the fact that you started as like a developer in the code
Hmm.
and then moved to
Hmm.
design, because often it's the other way. People start with some design and then go, oh, I
Hmm.
need to do some stuff. I'll learn how to do some code. So yeah, you've
Yeah.
come on a really roundabout route to get there.
And it's really funny because I've lost most of that coding ability that I had over the years. And I was actually, there's something I'll show you on my website later, but I actually needed to edit part of the JavaScript.
Mhm.
And I did it the other day, and I was so proud of myself because it's been so long since I've done anything like that. I'm like, it opens in a new window now. Look what I did.
You should be proud. That's amazing. And it changes so much over those years as well, right? Like it's not
Yes.
like this is a static world that we live in. So,
It was crazy because when I started doing those websites that you would build in Photoshop, CSS wasn't a separate thing. It was built into the HTML. So in the code, we were writing all of the styles in line in the code. And it wasn't until years later that it kind of became this separate style sheet that you applied. So yeah, things change all the time.
amazing. That's so cool. Oh, thank you for filling us in. I feel like I learned so much about you. One thing I think I've really noticed, and I'm sure a lot of people out there watching your content and all of the things that you produce online, is your work feels so authentic. Like it is so deeply rooted in this authenticity that you bring. I actually stole a quote from a client to read, and I'm going to read it so that I get it perfect. But it's on
Okay.
your website, and it said, "You give us confidence. I love the format, and you're always calm, objective, open, and receptive to questions," which I just think is an amazing quote. I would be so thrilled if a client was to write that about us. But I think it just really shows how much that authenticity carries through. Has that been like an intentional decision of like, this is what I want my business to look like? Here's how I think I'll be successful. Or is it something that's kind of developed naturally and you've leaned into?
That is a great question. I think that there are kind of two parts to that. I think just naturally, I've always been the person who's like, you get what you get. Here I am, and try to be very transparent and forthright about, if something's going wrong, I'm going to let you know,
Mhm.
that sort of thing. I don't want to hide anything from clients. So I think being transparent about the work and being, who you are all the time and not different versions of yourself for different clients or different
Mhm.
people. I think that's kind of a thread through my life. I think we all had the grandma who would tell you, be yourself, everybody else is already taken kind of thing. And I took that to heart. And she also told me, and this is some of my favorite advice, because I think we get caught up in the, what if somebody doesn't like me, especially with
Mhm.
YouTube, when you start publishing things there, you're going to get nasty comments. But my grandma was like, you're not $100 bill. Not everybody's going to like you. So it was really good advice.
That's great. Way to go, Grandma. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that I think the part that has evolved over the years is I've gotten a lot better at my job at working with clients. So
Mhm.
when I was starting out, I didn't have really strong systems And I think that there were times that I would drop the ball or wasn't quite sure what I was doing. And I wasn't communicating as often as I could to clients. And I've gotten much better at that over the years.
Yeah, that's so impressive. I really like what you said there about being transparent with your clients. Like if
Mm-hmm.
something goes wrong, I'm going to let you know, or like that quote said, you're receptive to questions. And I think
Yeah.
that's actually a really hard thing to do, to be confident enough in your work. But yeah, it obviously pays off being able to develop that relationship with your clients.
Yeah, and I think, we all as web designers, we usually have some support after the website launches, a support period. And I always tell my clients, like, I've checked everything on your website and I feel like it's right, but I am human. So there
Mm.
may be a link that didn't get linked correctly. And when you discover that, let me know and I will fix it for you. So I think just, we are all of us are human. There's maybe something that falls through the cracks, even if we give it our, 110%. So I think just, knowing that none of us is perfect, but we're all trying really hard.
Yeah, that's such good advice. Do you feel like you started that way? Like, did you have that kind of attitude and confidence at the beginning with those first clients? Or is it something that you feel like you've developed more confidence as you've gone along to be like, hey, sometimes I'm not going to get it right, and that's okay?
Yeah, no, I think that that's something that I've definitely developed as I've gone along. I I think that I used to be much more of a perfectionist to a fault because
Mm,
we can build a site, we can QA it, we can make sure everything's good and we launch it. There might have been a time that I would have QA'd it like 5, 10 times, which is just not good for me. It's not good for the client.
mhm.
But when I was working at one of those startups, I had a boss who really drilled into me like done is better than perfect. And to the extent that if I was working on something, he would come by my desk and say, "You're done." And I would be like, "No, Matt, I think that I can make this even better." And he'd be like, "You're done. Go home." So I loved that. That was
That's
definitely a lesson
brilliant.
I had to learn about just being really upfront about how everything's going to work. And we're all human. I'm going to give it my best and try my best, but you know, things happen and technology is weird.
It really is sometimes,
Yeah.
isn't it? You think everything's going into plan and then something is
Yeah.
offline, or yeah,
Mhm.
amazing. That's really helpful. I think that's an amazing attitude to carry into, and something we can probably all apply to all sorts of different areas in our
Mhm.
life, not just work. You seem to have developed this client base through kind of connection, not just like flashy marketing. Are there any particular things that you've done that have helped you attract really good clients? How are you getting your clients? Are they mostly word of mouth through these amazing
Mhm.
connections, or how's that worked out?
Yeah, it was so in 2018 when I pivoted to Squarespace, I think at the very end of that year, I started blogging a little bit because I would figure something out and realize that if I had that question, there were probably other people that had that question too. And so I started writing blogs as I would figure things out just to share that. Or if I would see a question in a forum that I like, I can figure that out, I would go and figure it out and write a blog about it and come back and drop a link to my blog and say, I have a blog post about this. And Will and I did this. Will Myers and I, like, we had the same marketing strategy and we call it stealth marketing.
Oh
So
yeah.
we were like, yes, we have that. We just wrote it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, just give me 10
But
minutes. I'll be right back.
yes, exactly. And I think that building that blog initially really, it obviously helped with SEO, but it also helped people realize that this wasn't just a hobby for me. It is something that I care very much about. It's a
Mm,
career. I want to do very good work for my clients. And I think that it helped them see me as an expert. And
mm.
so not only was I showing up in search, but there was enough meat there that people saw me as someone that they could trust with their project. So that's how I was initially getting, I would say, over half of my clients. And still
Wow.
to this day. So, a lot do come from referrals. And the longer you're in this business, the more referrals come. But SEO and blogging has served me very well in that regard too.
That's really interesting. I really like that concept of stealth marketing. It's brilliant.
Yes.
I was just chatting with one of our team before, and there was a comment that had come up in our community page, our
Hmm.
circle community, And they were like, hey, can you do this with SquareKicker? And he was like, well, not yet, but give me a minute. And like half an hour later, he was like, here you go, and served the tool out to them.
Yes.
Like, oh, amazing. So
I
great.
love it.
Hey, so you talked about kind of your SEO, and I know
Hmm.
recently you've been working a lot on your YouTube and kind of showing up in there.
Hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that. What's been like surprising or kind of rewarding that you didn't expect about this journey into YouTube?
Yeah. So YouTube has been a really interesting journey. So I think it was maybe 2018, 2019. I started my channel with a video. And then in 2020, I decided I was going to go all in on YouTube. And starting in January that year, I was going to publish a video a week. And in April, I was like, I am done. I'm never publishing another video. I hate this so much. I never want to do it again. And it just kind of every now and then there was something that I would create that I'm like, okay, I can put that there. But it was not anything that I enjoyed doing or wanted to do.
Mm,
And in 2023, I was part of the Google Labs experiment. So you can kind of see what's coming on Google.
yeah.
And they started rolling out those AI answers at the top of the page. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh no, half of my business comes from SEO.
Hmm.
And people aren't going to scroll down and find me, find my blog post. They're going to see the answer there and they're not going to click through. They're not going to get on my email list. What am I going to do?
Mm,
And so I thought about it and I thought, oh, what's another search engine? It's either Pinterest or YouTube. And I had tried Pinterest and I didn't enjoy that either. So I decided in, 2024, I was going to start my one video a week again starting in February. And so in February 2024, I did my first video and it was really painful. And then the next week I did another one and then I did another one. And then I realized people don't care what my hair looks like. They don't care what I'm wearing. They just want the answer to the question they have. And I let so much perfection go. If I mess up when I'm doing a video, if it's something that I do wrong, I'll take it out. But if it's something happens to the site, if there's a menu change or something, I just leave that in because we've all been there.
oh,
And
yeah.
so I think that again, that feels more authentic to the audience too, because they're like, oh, that happens to me too. I clicked there by accident kind of
Yeah.
thing. And the more I did the videos, the easier it got. And the technology around recording and editing has gotten much better in the last couple of years as well.
Mhm.
So that made it easier. And yeah, so I'm still doing a video a week. I think the only week I missed was Christmas, but I'm still doing at least a
Wow.
video a week. And
That's
it's
amazing.
actually it's actually become fun, Hannah. I enjoy it. I can't believe I'm saying
Oh,
that.
that is so
But
impressive. Well done.
the benefit is that people are now finding me through YouTube. So it does eventually pay off, that all that work. It's like when you start blogging. I think when I started blogging, it was 9 months before I really started showing up in the first page or two of search results and people
Mm,
started finding me. And with YouTube, I was really curious how long it would take to get to monetization for a channel. And for me, it was 14 months. So I
wow.
just
Yeah.
got there a few weeks ago. So it's thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. But there's a lot of shouting into the void. And
Yeah.
I was talking with my daughter and I was saying, I think the people that actually make it to monetization here or make it to their site showing up in SEO because they're blogging are just the people that don't quit. I don't
Mm,
think there's anything special about us. We know the topic, but there are lots of people out there who know the topic. It's just that we don't stop. We just keep going.
yeah. And you really focused as well, which I think is the other trick, isn't it? Of like, I'm gonna just go, okay, here's the one channel I'm gonna do so that I can commit and so that I don't quit.
Yes.
So often there's that like, oh, there's so many shiny objects. I'm gonna grab this social media platform and I'm gonna do this and this and this. And then it's
Mhm.
exhausting. And if you're not seeing the results, the temptation just to drop everything is so strong. So that's amazing advice.
Yeah. And that's really true what you said about just how we feel like we have to be everywhere at once. And
Mm,
sometimes it seems like people are. And somebody asked me the other day, they're like, you're in all these places. And I said, yeah, but I didn't just start in all those places. It's been 7 years of work. And, I'll start one thing and grow it there. And then when that gets easy, I can start something else and grow it there. And I think the takeaway is don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle, because it's so easy when you're getting started somewhere, that comparison game of, look, they're on Instagram and YouTube and blogging. I was just blogging for a long time. And I think that's, it's nice to just focus on one thing at a time. And then once that feels easy or spacious, then you can add something else to the mix.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And I love that. Like, don't compare your now to like where I'm at, because like
Yeah.
we've all cried at 1 a.m. trying to get a blog out the
Yes.
door. Like
No
we've been there.
kidding. Yes. Yes. Or when you have recorded your video and realized your mic was halfway across the room.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than having to re-record a video.
Yes.
And the whole time
Agreed.
you're going, it was so much better the first time around.
I know. How is that? Always the case.
Yeah. I'm really interested in, 'cause we've kind of talked about the like, commit to an idea.
Mm-hmm.
When do you know that something isn't working and you should put it down? Have you ever had that where you've tried something and you're like, actually, this isn't serving and I need to be willing to let it go?
Yeah, there were two things. So Pinterest for me was one of those things. And I gave it about 8 or 9 months of dedicated pinning using Tailwind and all the things. And I know that that is also a long game. And it could be that I didn't give it enough time, but I wasn't getting anyone reaching out to me saying, I found you on Pinterest. So I wasn't getting any jobs from it. I wasn't selling any digital products because of it. I recently found out that one of my students found me on Pinterest, which I found hilarious
Oh,
because, yeah, I was like, wish I'd known that then. But
yeah.
so I wasn't getting those early indicators that it was paying off. But for me, the main reason was I really did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy creating the pins and setting it up. For a while, I paid someone else to do it, but you know me, Hannah, I'm super frugal. I'm going to do as much as I can myself. And that wasn't a great arrangement for this other person or for me. And so, again, I tried doing it myself. And then I was like, it's just in the too hard pile. I don't enjoy it. I don't feel like it's paying off yet. So for me, Pinterest was an experiment that did not work. I know it works amazingly well for lots of other Squarespace designers. So it could work for anyone who's listening, but it was not for me. The other thing that I started off pretty strong on Instagram, I think 2018, 2019, I had this beautiful grid with alternating blocks of color and photos. And I spent so much time planning my posts, putting them, scheduling them, getting them ready so they would look just absolutely beautiful in my feed. And then after a while, I realized I'm getting a lot of people commenting and DMing, but again, not getting any like bigger clients from Instagram, not selling any digital products or very many. So the amount of work I was putting into it just was not worth it. So I still post to Instagram because I think it's fun, but it has ceased to be like a business activity for me. I'll share stuff when I've worked on it, if I feel like sharing it, or I'll do a story to see who's coming to Circle Day, that sort of thing. But it is very much a fun thing instead of a work thing for me now. And so I don't spend much time there. And that was another one that for me, I know other people have great success on Instagram, but for me, it really has been blogging and YouTube that have been the two that those early indicators that people are finding you through those sources. And then you're getting clients or you're selling digital products from those sources. That's those indicators that I see. It's like, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Just finding that balance of like, am I enjoying it? Am I getting clients? And I guess auditing those things probably every few months of going, is this actually serving my business or just an absolute drain? And like what you said there as well about, outsourcing it. So you tried Pinterest and outsourced it, but that was still draining. And even when you outsource those things, you're having to think about them. And so, yeah, I think it's really wise to know when it is okay to let things go.
Yeah. And I think for me, it is if you're not enjoying it, if you're spending more time on it and it's something that you don't enjoy, life is too short.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the beauty of working for ourselves. Like we get to be the boss and I get to tell myself, you don't have to do Pinterest anymore. Do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Life is definitely too short. So
Mhm.
don't be beating yourself up over a social media you don't need to be on.
Yes.
But please keep posting your dogs on Instagram because I enjoy that a lot.
Yes.
I was actually wondering if we did a video where it's like your dog and my dog just sitting here staring at each other for an
Yes.
hour, would that get more views than us talking? I think it's a theory
I
we should
think it's a
probably test.
very, I think it's a real probability. I think we should test it. Yes. And you can decide which of my dogs you want.
That'd be chaos, right? I could bring the mini horse too.
Yes. That would for sure get more than us talking.
Amazing. Another thing that you've done is making a lot of downloadables. So you've got like freebies like your Squarespace
Hmm.
pre-purchase checklist, and then you've
Hmm.
got paid offerings like the web designer playbook, which you just launched.
Hmm.
These obviously take a really big time commitment to create.
Hmm.
What kind of led you to making this sort of content? And have you found some stuff works really well and some isn't worth your time and you have put them down? How's that whole process been?
I love this question because I think initially the first product that I had was the Squarespace pre-launch checklist. And it is something that I had created for myself, a list to go through when I launch sites for clients, everything that I need to make sure I've done. Like, don't forget the social sharing image because you're not going to remember it if it's not written down. You never
Yeah.
see that setting. So it's like 50 plus things that I check on every website. And that was my lead magnet originally, and it still is. And people love it. And that has been really fun. And in fact, when I started doing the YouTube videos, I decided I would make a video for every item on the checklist. And I'm not quite done, but I'm getting close. And that's
That's
been
so
really
cool. I
fun.
love that.
Yeah. So that's been really fun. Um, the other products, like I have a starter template for Squarespace web
Mhm.
designers that includes a lot of my offboarding pages and a style guide, some custom code that I use on those pages.
Mm.
That I actually, people asked me to create that. And it was funny
Cool.
because I gave a talk on offboarding clients.
Mhm.
And after that, people said, can we just buy these from you?
Wow.
And at the time, I'm like, well, I'm not sure how to deliver them. That seems kind of hard. And then I realized that it wasn't as hard as I was thinking it could be. It could be very simple. And then I thought, well, but people could just build their own. Like, why would they buy it? So, what I did, and this was kind of an experiment, was I did a YouTube video walking through every piece of my starter template in case you want to build your own. But if you
Wow.
don't, you can buy mine. And it was astonishing to me how many people were like, yes, I could do it myself, but this will save me so much time. I'm going
Yeah.
to just buy the one that's done. And that didn't occur to me that that would be the case. I thought people would just build it themselves, but I've been really grateful to everyone who's purchased one.
Mm.
And it's been really cool to see that grow. And after that, I had thought about doing a couple of larger courses
Mhm.
because those are the pre-launch checklist is free. The starter template is just under 100 US dollars. And I thought I wanted to do a large course and really dive deep into something with a lot of detail. And
Mm.
initially, I was going to do a how to build a website on Squarespace course. And to your point, why did I put that down? Because Squarespace changes all the time. Every time I
Yeah.
log in, I feel like I've left my house for 5 minutes. I've come back and someone has rearranged all of my
Someone's moved the
furniture.
chair. Yeah.
Yes, I'm bumping into things. Yeah, the forward slash trick to search for things is now how I do everything. I don't actually go into any of the menus anymore.
That is
So
such a good tip.
yeah, how can we live without that? Yeah. So I had intended to do that and then realized if I did that, I would just be recreating that course monthly. I would be
Mhm.
re-recording everything all the time. And then I thought about what do I actually get questions about? It's not really the questions about building your site are usually very specific to a particular client. But the questions that I got from web designers were all about my process. Like, how do you run a custom project? What do you do on a discovery call? What's a strategy call? Like, what do you say? What emails do you send? When do you tell them this? The whole thing. And I thought that's something that I have actually actively been working on and improving for myself over the past 7 years. I can make a course on that. So that's how the Web Designer's Playbook came to be, because it was the questions that I was getting from other designers about how do you run a project? I know I'm supposed to do a discovery call, but I don't know what that is.
Amazing.
And
That's so much value. Like having Christy coach you through some of those things that you have perfected. Like that would be incredible.
Thank you. It's been really fun. So I've got the first cohort of students, and it's an evergreen course, but I had a launch sale and it launched, and the first cohort is kind of finishing or just finishing the course and moving through. And it's been really cool to see and hear from them how, just having these reminders of like when to tell the client certain things or check in with the client every week, even when you've basically handed off the content guide to the client. I have a Friday email or a Monday email. I pick the day depending on the client that I send off. It's like, do you need my help? How is the content coming?
Yeah.
By the way, it's due this day.
Like just a gentle reminder.
Yes, exactly.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased to hear people are taking up those things, because I think one thing that I often hear that I find really frustrating is people wanting to do it themselves. Like you said that, the template that you've created and you're like, wait, people could make it themselves. I'm so pleased to hear they're purchasing that from you and valuing their time, because nothing frustrates me more when people are like, well, I could do this, or I don't want to use this product, or I don't want to purchase this because I can make it happen. I'm like, yeah, but value your time. Your time is so precious. And if you can use a tool or if you can use a resource that is going to help you get there faster and help you learn faster, that is so valuable. I just want to like constantly be like, put your hourly wage on the time that you spend learning these things for yourself, and then seeing how you can get the most value out of your time.
And I think that's so true of just Squarespace templates in general, like the SquareKicker template shop too. I think a lot of designers are now coming there to purchase templates because it's a starting point that's already done for you, and it can make a project go so much faster. And also you don't have to charge your client as much. And I don't know if you're feeling it there, but in the US, people are holding their purse strings really tightly right now. And so those higher priced custom projects, we're just not, at least I'm not, and the people that I've been talking to, we're not seeing as many of those come through the door. And people are really looking for a lower cost website build. And, your templates are amazing for that.
Oh, they are so beautiful. And the designers that have made those templates are just phenomenal. Like it, I mean, imagine we've basically hired some of the best Squarespace designers, Christy included, around the globe to give you a start off, and you can deliver such good value to your client through that. I know one thing that we had heard a lot when we first made the SquareKicker tools was this concept of people like not wanting their client to know that they've used these things, like how can I use your tool and then make sure my client doesn't see it? Or I'm like, but you're delivering amazing value to your client. They don't care. They
don't care.
Like, they want that beautiful website. They want it, sometimes as fast as possible or to the highest standard that you can deliver. They don't mind where your starting point is.
They don't care. You're exactly right. 100%.
And I think especially a lot of newer designers really struggle with that of like, I have to pretend I know everything. I have to start off super confidently and feel like I'm delivering, quality of a 25, year veteran of design. But it's so not true.
And I think to that point too, one of the things that I've come to realize is you can be the most amazing designer in the world, but if your systems and processes with clients aren't there, your client may feel anxious or frustrated or confused during the process. And that's what they remember. So, you can be a good designer and do a good job for them and have a very supportive process for them. And that's going to be a home run for them. They're going to refer you to other people. It's all about how you're making your client feel.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so wise. I'm interested in like wise Christie's input here of like, if there's a newer designer, they've come, they've looked at your website, they're watching this podcast, hearing how you've got it all together and you're YouTubing daily. Maybe not quite. Maybe that's 2026 Christie. But you know, you've got all of this built out and they're kind of overwhelmed looking at it. Like, where would you suggest they start?
I think that you start in the place that will bring you money. So when you're getting started, client work, one-on-one client work is a sure thing. You build something for a client and they pay you. And so the most important thing is finding a client, and you can decide how you want to do that. Some people do that through networking. Other people do it through social media. Other people do it through blogging. You can pick what works for you and then start working with clients and hone your craft. Hone your processes, hone your design skills, and the next project, charge a little more and keep working on your process and your design skills. And, you know, as you have more clients, more referrals will come your way. So it just naturally grows. But I think that when you're starting out today, especially, there's so much that you could be doing, and you feel like you need to be on Pinterest, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, on YouTube. You need to be blogging. Your website must be amazing. You need to be doing podcasts. You need, you know, there are just so many things that I think we forget. It's like the most important thing is learning your craft and doing that well. And I think things come from that. And like I said earlier, when I was learning that, I'd figure something out and create a blog post. And you could do that by creating a blog post or a YouTube video. And it's something you've just figured out. So it's great to share that with other people too. And that helps grow your, just how people can view you as an expert. And you know, like Google always is like the EAT algorithm. What is it? Expertise, something in trust. I always forget A. Authority?
Oh, yes.
Is it authority?
Authority.
Yes. Yes.
Like, why is that not in my brain? This is stuff we
I
do
know.
every day, Christy.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, even we forget things.
Oh, all the time. All the time.
Yeah, no, that's such good advice. And I think there's so many great free resources as well for learning. So if you are new, starting out, the Squarespace community is phenomenal. I don't think I've ever been a part of a community where people are so willing to help each other out and offer advice and get alongside people that are learning different things, or being like, hey, you learn this and I learn this. Let's share that knowledge together. So it is amazing. So you don't have to pay for resources when you start. And then when you're ready to, and when you've saved up enough in your business that you can afford some of those things, jumping into some of the paid resources is really valuable.
And I have to agree with you. I've definitely been a part of communities for other web design builders and networking groups and business groups. And there is something really special about the Squarespace community. And I don't know if it's, you know, maybe the folks who started Squarespace Circle just set it up in a way that it's attracting kind humans, but it really is a lovely, lovely group. And you don't find that in a lot of places. So it's something very special.
Yeah, it really is. And there's like a genuine, like, you can come with your questions and no one will laugh at you. Like, you can be vulnerable about where you're at and people will be so encouraging.
Because we've all been there. I don't like, we didn't just show up and know everything about Squarespace. None of us did. We all had to figure it out.
And it changes every now and then. So we all have to relearn. So
every now and then.
Absolutely. You've obviously had this huge journey getting to the point that you're at now. But I imagine, being who you are continuing to learn. What does creative growth look like for you right now? Where are you kind of stretching yourself or experimenting?
I think part of that definitely was the YouTube and just getting comfortable doing those videos. That I'm finally settling into, after 14 months, finally settling into a rhythm of it. You know, I don't get anxious anymore before I start the recorder. That's definitely part of it. Last year, Will and I got to speak on the stage at Circle Day. And we were both so nervous beforehand. And that was definitely a stretch moment, I think, for both of us. I don't think Will mind me sharing that. We were both really nervous. And which is so funny because I could talk to my computer with 1,000 people watching, no
Oh,
problem. But in a room in front of live humans, it was a
oh,
little anxiety inducing, even
yeah.
though those humans are my friends. It was really funny. So that definitely was something uncomfortable. But afterwards, I was like, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, amazing.
So I
Cool.
I think that, just opening yourself up and saying yes to things that maybe do feel uncomfortable can help a ton in just you growing as a person because I definitely feel like we accomplished something by like I did not fall off the stage and I did not pass out.
Which
Those were
is
like the two
impressive.
things.
Like to not fall off that small
It's
Squarespace
a
stage.
tiny little stage. That was
It's
my
the
biggest
smallest stage
worry.
I have
Yeah.
ever seen. Yeah. I think we all have that worry. I remember when we spoke at Circle Day, I had to sit up on a stool and I
That's
looked
the
at that as I was
worst.
walking on and I was like, oh, I'm wearing heels and I'm holding a
Yes.
microphone and I have to get on the stool live in front of a bunch of people.
Hmm. I know. And
So funny.
and you hook your heel over the rung of the stool and you're like, remember when I get up, I must move my foot.
It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably a good way to get the views up, if ever you want to like
That's
YouTube
true.
that live.
That's true.
Amazing. Hey, I want to shift gears really quickly
Mhm.
and do a couple of reoccurring segments that we're going to
Yeah.
ask every guest to do. It's nothing too serious,
Yeah.
just a fun little way of getting behind the scenes.
Hmm.
So, the first thing that I want to do is look at your website. So, do you want to share your screen and walk us through
Yeah.
something interesting on your own site, a layout you love, or a feature that you've really enjoyed building?
Yeah, I'll show you. One of my favorite things about my website is this little button here because when I scroll, it rotates
So
and it's
cool.
clickable and it takes people to my pre-launch checklist. And it's just, which I don't think you can see because I didn't share that tab instead. There you
Jump
go.
to a new tab.
But yeah, I will go back and share this tab. So this was something that Will Myers was showing me a site he was working on, and he had a button that rotated that was clickable. And I thought, I've not really seen that before. I want a button that rotates and is clickable. So he, in his Code Curious membership, he shared the code for how to do this. And I immediately put it on my website. For a long time, it was a quiz,
Yeah.
and I decided to change it to be my lead magnet because it is something that's pretty front and center and people want to click on it. But I
That
just
is
love like
so
it grows a
enticing.
little
It's like
bit.
just bouncing a little bit for you.
Yeah, yeah. So
That
that's my favorite thing on my website right now.
that's so awesome. And it's so fun having just those little touches of something different on your website. I think particularly
Yes.
if you are a web designer, showing that as kind of your business card to clients. Like if you have
Hmm.
something that's a little different that they haven't seen before, it can make such an impact. Like it doesn't have to be all the crazy, but just those little subtle
No,
touches are so smart.
the two things people comment on my website are that and then the typewriter effect that I have in the hero because they're not built into Squarespace. And so
Mhm.
that's the beauty of something like SquareKicker too is you can add those touches really easily that make it feel so much more custom and
Yeah.
special. So yeah,
Yeah, it does
that's
make a
I
big impact.
yeah, and just like one small thing per website can make it feel really amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is design confessions time. Can you tell us
Oh no.
something that didn't go according to plan, like a mistake or a misstep or a learning curve that maybe in hindsight you can laugh a little bit about?
How much time do you have? How many can I share? Yeah, I think probably the worst one was when I was just kind of new to doing websites. A friend of mine asked me to build a simple website for him, and I did. And I ended up transferring his domain name, and I can't remember now why I did it, but in the transfer, it didn't preserve his email DNS settings. And so his email didn't work. And I remember just like, I don't know. I don't know what they were. I mean, it's funny because I just sent out in my newsletter yesterday, there's a tool that lets you go back and look at DNS history now. I wish I'd had that
Mhm,
then.
mhm.
But at the time it was like, I don't know. Do you really need your email?
Yeah.
It was so awful. He was so kind
Oh,
and
that's a
so
really tough
understanding, but
conversation.
it took a good 24 hours for me to get that figured out and have it propagate. So that
Yeah.
was a really rough one. And after that, anytime I'm doing domain stuff, you better believe I screenshot or export all of the DNS records.
Yeah.
That was the moment that I'm like, this is now a step in my process.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
that's the thing, right? Like you're gonna make mistakes. Things are
of
gonna go
course.
wrong. But
Yeah.
what can you learn from it? How can you make sure that doesn't happen next
Hmm.
time and happen again? What kind
Yes.
of processes can you put in? And if it does
Yeah.
happen, jump onto all those amazing Squarespace communities we just
Yes.
talked about and
If only
scream
I
for help.
had that community at the time, they would have saved me.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It happens to the best of us. Um, Off the grid, what is
Mhm.
something outside of work or design that helps you stay creative and fresh and able to keep producing these amazing ideas?
I think the best thing is to just give your brain a break. So for me, it's taking a hike with my dogs or going for a swim and just something where I'm not thinking about work at all. It's just
Mhm.
enjoying being outside. Or counting laps is almost like a meditation when I swim.
Yeah.
So those things to me are just like my happy place. And I think by doing that on a regular basis, when I come back to my desk, my brain has had a break. It's going to think of
Mhm.
things it hasn't thought of before.
Mhm.
And, I was laughing the other day about, just like sometimes I take my phone into like if I'm going to take a bath or a shower, I'll take my phone in and use the voice notes app because like in the middle of my bath, I'll be like, oh, I should do this. And I'll pull up the voice notes
Yeah.
app and I'm
Like I
thinking I should
suddenly
do
got clarity
this.
because I wasn't
Yes.
forcing my brain to sit in front of a screen.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The shower gods will bless you with an idea or the swimming gods, I think those
So
kind
many
of
good ideas
breaks.
born in a shower.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think especially like if you've got a deadline or you're trying really hard to work on something, we
Hmm.
can be so tempted to just like flog ourselves to like stay in the desk. And there's times for that, right? To have discipline around
Right.
your work, but
Hmm.
so important as well to remember to get those little fresh breaks. We've got a dog in the office, Toby. And he's
Does
been
everybody
so
fight
brilliant
over
because
who gets to walk the dog?
he just gets really regular walks. Like he is the
I love
luckiest
it.
dog in the world because it's so great. It'd be like, oh, I'm just popping
Mhm.
out. You get some sunshine, you get a little wind on your
Yes.
face, and it's amazing how much that can just freshen up your mental energy.
It's huge. I mean, just being outside, taking your shoes off and putting your feet in the grass, I mean, for a
Yeah.
minute is just the best feeling.
Oh, it so is.
Yeah.
Although it's a bit chilly in New Zealand here at the moment, so I think I'll keep
Well,
my shoes on.
and it's 105 here, and I don't want my feet to bake. So, opposite problem.
I can't win. We can't win. Just go do those laps instead. That's
Yes.
amazing. Hey, before we wrap up, we'd love to give you a chance to share something that you're working on, what you've got going on at the moment.
Yeah. So, I think the thing that I'm really enjoying right now is I mentioned the Web Designers Playbook course.
Hmm.
So, we have what I thought was going to be a pop up Slack group and 6 calls, which has turned on into an ongoing Slack group and monthly calls. And
Oh,
so, we just had
good.
one yesterday that's top of mind for me. And I was just in the Slack group. And I never thought that I would have a community because I didn't want to do a membership,
Mm,
but having that as part of the course has been so much fun, and it's like a little community is forming. So I've been spending some time
yeah.
thinking about that. So that is thing one. And the other thing that I've been working on are more YouTube videos. So if you're interested in that Squarespace pre-launch checklist, um, go ahead and grab it now. When I finish all the videos, I've got, I think, maybe 5 or 10 more. I will send out an email with the updated pre-launch checklist and you can watch them all. Grab your popcorn.
So much value. Run over there and grab that. You've also got the Somewhat Useful podcast with Will.
Yes.
We
We
love
actually
Somewhat Useful.
we loved having you guys on. So you guys were on earlier and talking about what it's like to work with your spouse. And I thought that was so interesting. So if you haven't checked out that episode, it is one of my favorites. And this year we're doing something a little different. And SquareKicker is our sponsor. So thank you guys very much.
Our pleasure.
But we are bringing it to YouTube Live. So you can either listen to the podcast after it's been edited, or if you want to see warts and all, and when I have to reread the ad because I called SquareKicker Squarespace, you can come live and watch that too.
That's so fun. I love that live experience of like, you get all those little in-between snippets. It's great. That's so fun. Hey, Christy, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have been able to have this chat, and you have just packed so much value into this episode. I feel like I want to go back and rewatch it 4 or 5 times so that I can glean all these wee bits of information. We hope everyone has enjoyed this little look behind the pixels. You can find links to Christy's work and the different things that she's referenced down below in the description. Don't forget to subscribe for more conversations with the creatives that are shaping life online. We will see you next time.
Thanks so much, Hannah.
Thanks, Christy.